Hi, I'm Jason Swain from Gonzaga University. Welcome back to the drawing board. Today I'm going to discuss the Waterline Model, a tool for diagnosing and solving team problems. When problems occur in an organization, the cause is often difficult to determine and a solution is often difficult to reach. The problem itself is usually easy to see and agree upon. For example, perhaps sales are down, or the customer dropout rate is up, or a critical deadline's been missed. We can easily provide evidence to prove these things and everyone can agree upon them. So we can think of the problem itself as being above the waterline. However, things are not always so clear and easy to agree upon when we begin to assess the cause of problems and seek to create solutions. Therefore, we have to look below the waterline. Here we find four distinct areas of organizations in which the cause of the problem may lie. Immediately below the surface, we find structural issues. These are the strategies, goals, and roles of the team. This is where you find the organization's mission, vision, and values. You also find specific goals and objectives, as well as individual job descriptions and responsibilities. The question here is whether we have the right structures in place to accomplish our work efficiently and effectively. As you can see, things are very rational and objective at this level. A bit deeper in the water, we find group issues. This includes how different areas or departments of the organizations interact with one another. For example, what are the norms for how decisions are made and how information is shared between groups? Do the various groups feel included and supported? Diving even deeper, we find interpersonal issues. This is what goes on between two people. For example, how do people treat one another? Do they feel listened to and understood by one another? Is conflict managed effectively? Is feedback given and received freely and effectively? And finally, at the deepest level, we find intrapersonal issues. This is what's going on inside one person. Here we find one's personal values, beliefs, and assumptions. For example, do team members feel free to be themselves? Do people feel like their ideas are heard, valued, and supported? Clearly, the deeper in the water you go, the more personal, subjective, and emotional things get, and therefore the more difficult it becomes to deal with and resolve problems. Ironically, though, the tendency is to try and fix problems at the interpersonal level because this is where we experience the problem. In other words, we tend to start too deep in the water. And as we all know, it's very difficult to reach agreement on personal, emotional, and subjective perspectives. Therefore, when problems occur in your organizations, start by diagnosing and trying to address the situation higher in the water and then go lower as needed. Let's look at an example. Let's say that I regard myself as a hardworking, intrinsically motivated employee, and I feel like I'm putting in 100% when it comes to my job. Well, this is the intrapersonal level because this is what's going on inside of me and can only be seen by me. Let's say that despite my great intentions and all my hard work, my supervisor frequently has negative or constructive feedback for me. And let's say that the overall rating on my latest performance review was needs improvement. In this example, my supervisor's dissatisfaction with my performance and the needs improvement rating on my review are what's above the waterline. These are the things we can see. However, the cause of this situation, as well as its potential solutions, lie somewhere below the waterline. Because we're mutually frustrated with one another, we experience the problem at the intra and interpersonal levels. And as I mentioned before, because this is where we experience it, the tendency is to try and resolve the issue at these levels. And typically, this would be a recipe for disaster. In other words, no amount of me trying to convince my supervisor of my dedication to the job and no amount of my supervisor trying to convince me that I'm not working hard enough will change the other's mind. What we need is some clear, objective criteria for assessing my performance. Therefore, if we start by moving the conversation to the structural level, we can look at the goals of the team and therefore what my specific roles and responsibilities need to be. What we may discover is that we're operating by two very different ideas about what my responsibilities and priorities are. As I see so often, it may be that my job description is woefully out of date. Perhaps my job responsibilities have grown far beyond my original job description, and therefore I believe that my priorities have shifted. However, if my supervisor and I don't work very closely together on a daily basis, she may not be fully aware of my increased responsibilities, and she may still be judging my performance by an outdated set of criteria. So, if we have a discussion about the goals and priorities of the team and therefore what's realistically required from me, we can create the criteria for effective performance for my position. Well, we may end up revising my job description, thereby providing mutually understood, objective criteria for effective performance. Now, if I truly am that conscientious, highly motivated person, I'll work hard to accomplish my newly defined goals, and my supervisor will assess my performance accordingly. In closing, when you're able to assess and resolve organizational issues at higher levels in the waterline, it's much easier. and the intra and interpersonal struggles tend to go away.